Well, I failed. At the beginning of 2024, I put together a list of my top 10 unopened board games and expansions, along with one honorable mention, that I was most excited to get played in 2024. And unfortunately, I am sorry to report I only got 8 of those 11 games played. And in this video, I thought I'd talk about those games I got played, those that didn't, and looking forward to 2025. It was an ambitious goal, and even though it wasn't even all the unopened games I had on my shelf of shame, the games on this list had to compete with so many other games I was getting throughout the year, or new games my friends wanted to get played from their shelves of shame. Impressively, 5 of these games made it to my top 10 new games of 2024 list, and part of me thinks that one of the games remaining might have even been able to grab a spot on the list had I gotten it played. So first, let's do a quick rundown of the games I got played. I'll try to keep it brief since I covered these games in my check-in video midway through the year. Love Letter is a classic card game I had always heard about and was glad to finally get a chance to try. It's amazing how much fun you can get out of such a small deck. It did feel a little basic by today's standards, but certainly one I'm keeping on the shelf and looking forward to playing again. Green team wins. Man, I know I talked about this game a lot this year. It's so simple, but so much fun. It came in at number 9 on my top 10 new to me games of 2024 list, as it's become my go-to party game with non-gamers or a big mixed group. Adventureland was pretty interesting. I like how the card deck slowly reveals new items or things to discover on the board. And I like that push your luck element of whether to jump out way ahead to snatch something up before someone else does, or to hang back and see what else is revealed along the way. Because the one thing you can never do is go backwards in this game. It did feel a little dated playing it for the first time here in 2024, and while I certainly want to play Adventureland again, it's going to be a little tough choosing to pull this game to the table over something else. Overall, it's a fun game, especially for the $15 or whatever I was able to buy it for. Wingspan Asia just edged itself into the number 10 spot on my top 10 new to me games of 2024 list, and is without a doubt my new favorite way to play Wingspan with 2 players. It's awesome that this game has everything you need to play in a scaled down box, including a totally different set of bird cards and some player boards with new art. But what really makes it shine is the additional scoring module and sideboard. It really opens up the strategy in this game, giving you some fun new things to think about and new paths to victory. Mille Fiori is a great card drafting and tile placement game that looks a lot more complex than it is. It's a fun game full of quick turns where you're placing colored tiles in one of 6 different scoring areas on the board, trying to compound your points in different ways, maybe by chaining your tiles together or building off of your opponent's tiles. Mille Fiori made number 8 on my top 10 new to me games of 2024 list and is a great add to the shelf. The Valhalla expansion for Champions of Midgard takes one of my favorite games and makes it so much better. I totally get why people say this expansion is a must-have. It feels like it should have been part of the game to begin with. The Valhalla tokens you get for any of your warriors who die in battle not only help mitigate some of the risk, but also add another level of strategy to the game and more ways to score points. Going forward, I don't ever see playing Champions of Midgard without the Valhalla expansion. Mosaic: A Story of Civilization is by far my favorite game from this list and was my number 1 new to me game of 2024. This is a big game. The setup and rules are a bit of a slog, but when you get going, this game just has such fun, quick, snappy turns. I highly recommend checking this one out. And finally, Flamecraft. This is a great game that was number 4 on my top 10 new to me games of 2024 list, and I keep liking it more with each play. This is a fun little worker placement game that has a great table presence, made even better with these cheap metal dragon coins I found on Amazon. This is another great game that's easy to teach and great for board gamers as well as those just getting into the hobby. So that leaves the Enchanted Forest expansion for Runestones, the Hall of Heroes expansion for Raiders of the North Sea, and Long Shot the Dice Game, which still remains unopened on my shelf of shame. Now don't get me wrong, yes, I really did want to get the list completed this year, but I'm still pleased with how much progress I made, and it really did shave a good chunk off of my shelf of shame. Long Shot the Dice Game is probably the one I'm chomping at the bit most to play, but I'm also saving this one for a big group since I know that it can play up to 8. So for me, getting this one out is really dependent on the right occasion. The other two are both expansions, which are a lot harder for me to get to the table. Not only are 2 of the remaining 3 unplayed games expansions, but also of the 3 expansions on this list, only 1 of them made it to the table. When I don't play a particular game frequently enough, or I'm always playing that game with different folks who are playing it for the first time, it often feels like too much of a hurdle to mix in a big expansion and learn that while trying to teach or relearn the base game. For those reasons, over the years, I've come to find that I'm not the biggest fan of expansions in general, and I'm pretty selective about the ones that I buy. And maybe given these stats, I'll become even more selective in buying expansions going forward. On the flip side, you take something like the Valhalla expansion for Champions of Midgard, which I did get played, and now it's something I'll never play the game without. It feels like a core part of the game that fits in perfectly, which should have been there in the first place. So looking forward, does that mean these 3 games and expansions automatically move to the top of my unopened games I'm most excited to play in 2025 list? Not necessarily. I've got a bunch of new unopened games that have been added to the game shelf since, full of top contenders. And I'm thinking about changing up my approach to this list, hopefully giving me more of a bigger margin for success. But for that, we'll have to wait until the next video, so stay tuned. Thanks for following along with me on my journey of unplayed games. I hope you found it interesting. I'd love to hear what game you set out to play last year but just couldn't get it to the table down in the comments. Please let me know that I'm not alone here. And if you have any thoughts or questions about any of the games I got played or didn't get played from this list, feel free to put them down in the comments as well. Thanks so much for watching, thanks for liking and subscribing, and hey, I'll see you in the next one, here on Board Game Casual.